Okay, Ollie, thank you so much for joining me today. You are the founder of the unbelievably popular J-TV YouTube page, Facebook page. How did you get started in wide streaming, like widely broadcasting Jewish content?
First of all, thank you for having me on your podcast. It's amazing what you can do with technology these days, speaking to each other, totally different time zones from halfway around the world. It's really cool. I guess that is part of the ability and the capability of technology as part of the story of JTV and how JTV has become possible. I'll really try and give you a very, very quick summary. But in a nutshell, the reason I think if you want to understand why I started JTV, you have to understand what motivates me and what I really care about. And when I grew up in a traditional Jewish home. Didn't go to a Jewish school growing up. I became more interested in my Jewish identity growing up. When I was 13, 14, I had a very inspiring bar mitzvah teacher. After that, when I went to, when I was at school, I invited in different rabbis and educators to speak in our Jewish society. They really inspired me. I learned a lot. I started reading more.
This is just all on your own. You did this.
What? Did what?
Just that you on your own, you just wanted to bring in rabbis and to start teaching your contemporaries?
I mean, they had a Jewish society at my school anyway, and they were always inviting. So whoever's running it would invite in different. But I felt that there was a real disconnect between the quality of the educators and the people they invited in, and the level that I was getting with this fantastic bar mitzvah teacher. Usually because they're just inviting youth leaders or charity workers who all they will do is just want to push their own organization. I thought, no, Judaism has some wisdom and truths that really resonate with me, and I want that to be shared with my peers, both Jewish and non-Jewish. In fact, in some ways, I find that being in a non-Jewish school can help to firm up someone's Jewish identity, but that's a topic for another time. So that was that, and then. I started learning more, started having a chavruta, a learning partner with one of the rabbis who invited me to learn with him. And I really kind of was drawn into the whole Jewish thing. It resonated with me, the truths that I found within Judaism. And a big turning point for me was when I went to Poland when I was 17 years old. And going on the trip to Poland and seeing both the extent to which the Nazis were determined to wipe us out, and at the same time the remarkable story that is Jewish history, and the story of Jewish history was so compelling to me. I felt I want to be part of the next chapter, and I want to be part of the mission of the Jewish people. Anyway. So I go to Israel, study in Israel for a year, come back to London, and I see this, I continue to feel, and this kind of a running theme that you can see, this void, this gap between the inspiration and relevance that I feel with my Jewish identity and the way in which so many of my peers just don't see that and don't feel that. And I have lots of peers, people my age, who are losing interest, who are marrying out, who just are atheists, or they don't see the relevance of, they see the Torah as a backward document which has no relevance whatsoever to 21st century life. And I feel at the very least people should have the right to be informed, and often I find that sometimes people think things or have certain conceptual things not because they've studied it and thought it all through, but actually just because they haven't taken the time to be or been given the information from one particular perspective. So I started, so that's where JTV comes in. So I started to realize people are on these things so much of the time. They're consuming their media, so much of their information through social media. Why is there not some kind of high quality social media platform that is, but not branded as education per se, because that would be a bit, people will think, oh, it's just machine educational, it's too much. But if it's more than that, a media channel, high quality, that is dealing with current affairs, that is funny and young and entertaining, but at the same time can offer Jewish wisdom. So that's the concept of JTV. That's how it all began. I need a drink.
and how did you get started with that? Like, did you have any background in social media? Like, what was some of your steps? Because what I think is so unbelievably compelling about your story is you saw a niche and you saw this, very large demographic that needs to be affected. But a lot of people see that. The question is, how did you take action and what did you do, right, to actually start to build that?
Well, first of all, I've always had like a passion for like video media, educating, and like public speaking. So all the things that I really enjoy doing. So often when you enjoy doing something, it's not very difficult to figure out how to make things happen. Just because you love it and it's your passion, you make it happen, you make it work. But I just followed the usual steps. I started consulting a few people who are in video media, started to find people who are able to produce content at a high quality level on the platforms of Facebook and YouTube, the ones that I wanted to be on, because that's where that's the best platforms to be on. And then people start coming to you, you start by writing out a proposal, and it just kind of happened eventually. And it took a while, it took months, probably about from the idea being written down. It was in the summer of 2015, and we launched it in February 2016. So it's about half a year.
Were you feeling overwhelmed in that process? And you were in school at this point, or you had graduated?
I was in school. Yeah, we call it college at this point. By this point.
Yeah.
I was in college. Yeah, it was overwhelming. I was juggling quite a lot.
What were you telling yourself?
What was I telling myself? Well, I actually asked a rabbi of mine. I told him, I said, "What do you think about this whole thing? It's, if this takes off, I could become committed to this, not just for the next year, but indefinitely." And he said, "You have to do it." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because if you don't do it, someone else will, and they might do it in a way that's not the best way or whatever." So I kind of had that. I also just felt like I was so. I didn't really care whether it succeeded or not, because A, I knew it needed to be done, and B, I had such a passion for it anyway. I just had a passion for sharing these things, for video media. So I felt that this needs to be done. I want to be the one that does it before someone else seizes the market. And if it succeeds, great. If not, I give it my best shot. So there was a point, by the way, for about 4 weeks where I had to literally just put J-TV on hold because I need to sort out my exams and everything. But I was spending so much of my time. I was spending so much of my time in university and college studying something and doing something, which I did have. I was doing history. I have an interest in that, but it wasn't something that made me feel alive. Like this is my I'm in my element, and I felt I wasn't that in that case with J-TV, and so it was a pleasure. It's work, but it doesn't feel like work.
It's an unbelievable point, and I want to just you didn't gloss over it, but I just want to go back and look at that you said that you sort of detached yourself from the outcome, that you didn't really care if it was successful or not, but at the same time you desperately wanted to do it and you had a great time doing it. How did you, I guess, create that idea for yourself, or how do you apply that idea in your life? How could a person not be attached to the outcome if they care so much about it and they feel like this is what they were put on earth to do, so to speak?
Yeah, I would be careful not to say that I didn't care about the outcome. But obviously, I had a huge interest, and still to this day continue with every single video and everything we put out. I'm interested. I want to make sure that it does the best it does. But I don't know whether it's just like a personality thing or it's just something I've developed over time in my head, where it's just a question of if you feel like this is. I mean, it really is just kind of thinking out what I said, which is if you believe that this is what you're put on earth to do, that is absolutely necessary and needed, and frankly, if it fails, what's the worst thing that can happen? If you just keep repeating those things in your mind enough, then it just becomes clear. And I'd say that I apply this to lots of things I do. For example, I'm not nervous so much about public speaking and saying a joke which might fall flat. Some people be terrified about doing that. If it falls flat, I don't really care. Like, what's the big deal? The question to keep asking yourself is what happens if it does? People are a lot more. I think people are a lot more concerned about how other people perceive them than is the reality of the matter. I think that's a really big thing, and that's what if anyone says to me, like, what do you say to someone who's looking to build their confidence in public speaking? Because it's something that I would say is one of the things I don't have as much of an issue with. I still can get a bit of nerves, but I would say just recognize that every person in that audience is a human being just like you. They're human beings just like you, and they want you to succeed and do a good job. They want to be entertained, and and I think that's important. There's no doubt that it was a challenge with JTV in terms of starting it, recognizing that people are judging it the whole time. They're seeing, you know, if you do any kind of startup, that's one thing, but this is something where people can track the success of it from start to, you know, for every single video they can. It's all there. It's all absolutely clear. So it is a bit nerve-wracking, but it comes back to just the reinforcing of so what.
So tell me a little bit about that. Where is it today? What's the biggest video? How have you, built your impact, etc.?
Well, the challenge of JTV has basically been for me to constantly balance and refine what I want to be putting out and what my vision is and what people want and what the demand is like. So it's been a refining process over the last 2 years to see what content does work and what doesn't work. And I think we've kind of got that. I think we've come a long way. So what works is for the Jewish wisdom and the educational stuff or current affairs is either debates, live debates, or one-on-one, like Skype debates that are short and really interesting with high-profile people, or monologues with animation and graphics, music, that kind of stuff. So for example, one of our best videos was with a Muslim Zionist, which was a monologue. He was talking, we had animation, music. It was on 1.4 million views, so amazingly that one. And the other thing is make sure we have funny content as well. So for example, we have a video coming out in a couple of weeks where we have two presenters. One is on a checkout till in a kosher shop, and the other one's upstairs who has an earpiece. He's got an earpiece on the checkout till, and he's feeding him things to say to the customers. So just funny stuff like that. And I think it's important that, it draws people in. So that's basically the process we've gone through in terms of refining our content.
When you're looking at the big picture of where Jewish engagement is, and I don't know if this is something that you're focusing on specifically for your peers or if it's getting broader now that you have so many people that are following you and watching you, what do you feel like the future is? What are the big challenges? How are you going to grow your platform to address the big issues that are facing us?
Well, one of the things we're doing more of, I came up with this concept called Grill the Rabbi. So we did it as a live event. We haven't released the footage yet. We will. We did a live event at Europe's, it's the UK's, but it's also Europe's biggest Jewish school for kids aged 16 to 18. And we literally surrounded the room and had me and a rabbi in the middle. It was quite sort of dramatic. It's like a town hall event, and like anyone can ask any question, pose any question they want to. So that was something that I thought was quite a good way of doing things. Also, the other thing is to always think about making content that can relate environments that young people operate in and relate it to whatever Jewish message you want to apply. So, for example, we've just released the story of Purim told through text messaging. So, people relate to that and it's nice and fun. So that kind of stuff. But I also think dealing with relevant issues that perhaps elements of the religious world might be too uncomfortable to discuss, but are taboos and shouldn't be and should be discussed. We're actually doing a debate next month on sex and intimacy before marriage. So we've got a religious Jewish author, Gila Mandelson, debating a secular progressive feminist and journalist, Jill Filipovic. We're doing a live event because I'm sure that whether we like it or not, there are a lot of people, even in religious circles, when they're young and teenage and grow up, and they're grappling with these issues. And we're trying to present here's two perspectives. Here's the perspective of the secular world today, and here's a religious Jewish perspective.
And for yourself in your own growth process, like what inspires you? Who are you seeking out when you're looking for mentors at this stage in the game or your own religious experience? How has this been fueled by the success you've seen and the real focus that you have to put on in terms of creating engaging content?
So I would say that what's always inspired me since the beginning is just being given myself deeply inspiring, relevant, resonating, and meaningful Jewish content. So I'm very privileged to be able to. First of all, in London, we have lots of amazing Jewish educators and thinkers and speakers, but also through J-TV, I can interview and meet all kinds of people. But it's those kinds of people who are really, if I can get good content from them that inspires me, then it gives me, that the ability to think, right, how can I translate that into a J-TV message? In particular, there's a particular rabbi who I think is absolutely phenomenal, called Rabbi David Foreman. And he's done something similar, where he creates these short animated videos online, going through the weekly Torah reading or festivals. And his insights are just incredible. And he does these series of videos on the festivals. And I kid you not, like sometimes I will finish reading it. And everyone's different. Some people, might not resonate with them as much. For me, I can finish reading some of these things because I print off the transcripts and read them. And I can be like close to tears sometimes. I find them so beautiful. So yeah, that does it for me.
That's amazing. And if you think about the future of what you want to build, do you see and again, this could be for your brand J-TV. Could also be for yourself personally. Do you see this as something that you want to grow and then spin off and then try a new project? Is it too early to tell that? Where do you see yourself going as a person that tries to synthesize, technology and Judaism and making it relevant for your demographic?
Yeah. I think this kind of goes back to an earlier point we said, which is that I think long term in terms of vision, but I don't think too long term in terms of what's going to work out or not. What happens if I do that? What happens if I do that? I'm thinking right now, here's something which I think is working, it's growing, let's continue to build it. Whether this is something that is part of like a portfolio of things I do, I don't know. Whether this is my absolute one full-time thing. Right now, it seems to be that that's the way it's going. This is the latter option, but we have to see. I'm not a prophet. All I know is this is deeply necessary. I'm finding that it's working, and for as long as that's the case, I feel like I should continue to build it.
Last question: what would you tell someone who is your age, maybe a little bit younger, that is grappling to find their purpose or thinks they have their purpose and kind of wants to get out there, but is scared to take those first couple of steps?
I sometimes feel like I'm too young to be parting wisdom. I'm saying, I'm only 23. Look, so I will therefore
to be totally honest with you, though, the reality is that you're 23, but you've built this thing that has a huge impact. And the way that technology is working, people are younger and younger and younger. You don't have to be, how many 10-year-old YouTube stars are there out there? You know what I'm saying? So it's not, you're now an old man in the game, so to speak.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I would say I like what Rabbi Sachs says, which is that to find your purpose, it comes where what you want to do meets what needs to be done. And that I really feel has been the case with J-TV. And I would say that that's the most important thing. The first step always is look at what is it that you're good at? What do you really enjoy and what are you passionate about? Usually those two things tend to fall into the same bracket. And then ask yourself, okay, how can I use that skill to make the world a better place? And then once you do that, that should be your starting point. Now, when people say they're scared about, money and will it work for me? At a young age, you have the freedom to be able to make those kinds of quests and give things a shot. You only live once, but I think it tends to be once people have that clarity, once you have clarity over what you're passionate about, what you care about, it's usually not very difficult to keep yourself focused and pushed because this is just everything you're about. But there's no doubt, that doesn't mean that hard work isn't absolutely critical and vital. It is. But usually when you're dealing with your passion, it's not it doesn't feel so much like work.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ollie. How do people find you and everything that you're working on?
They go to, on YouTube or Facebook, just type in J-TV, and then you'll see us pop up. J-TV, the Global Jewish Channel.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.